Well, now that we've seen some of the flight footage, let's jump into the review scoring. Start with model characteristics.
Robert, take us there. Take us all
I'm
there
driving
on your magic carpet.
I'm driving you very fast. Model characteristics, build as advertised.
Yep.
We've scored it at a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, typically an RTF scores high if you don't have to mess with anything at all. But
the aforementioned blade grip tightening.
Yeah, just had to tighten. And if you don't know what you're doing, if you've never messed around with helicopters at all, and this is kind of your first foray into it, you're not going to know to tighten up the grips.
Yeah.
You think, oh, whatever's fine.
Yep.
And quite frankly, it flew as it was out of the box, but there was a noticeable difference between us pulling those blade grips down. How tight do you take them? Ideally, you want it to just feel some friction, just a tiny little bit of friction. It doesn't have to hold the blades in place, but a little bit of friction on those grips. Don't over tighten them at all. In fact, this one, just from flying, I just want to loosen up a little bit, but you just want to be able to slightly feel that grip grabbing a hold of the blade, and you'll just get more crisp response. If it looks like there's a lot of tracking issues after you do that, like if you look at the disc when it's spinning around and you can see one blade over the other, so you actually see two discs spinning, or you're getting a little bit of oscillation, back the screws off, take some of the tension off until that goes away. So you just got to play around with it a little bit, which no big deal.
Tweak it.
Yep, tweak it a little bit.
All right, that brings us to finish. 4 out of 4. Yeah, 4 out of 5.
So it's pod and boom. What do you?
Yeah, it's
pretty much got a canopy.
Pretty much the standard issue canopy for most.
Yeah.
Every helicopter today.
It's a standard. So it's just it's within the norm.
And they make them sleek and aerodynamic, and I'm not really sure why.
It probably doesn't have a huge, because a lot of heli guys fly without their canopy, especially when they're tweaking and stuff. They'll just mess around with them. But
when are they going to start coming
out?
I
watch them do full 3D all day long with no canopy on. But
when are they going to start coming out with clear ones?
Just clear, so you can see the guts. It's like those. It's like those fish way down deep in the ocean. You can see
keeps the bugs off the mechanism while you're flying it.
You can see the skin and all the innards and stuff.
Yeah.
Keeps the bugs off.
That's right.
A fly probably would have an impact on some of those gears or something.
Well, it might at least powder it up. All right, power 4 out of 5. Excuse me.
Yeah. You've got to have the right expectations for little ultra micros like this. I mean, you're swinging a big rotor off of a tiny little motor. So what I will say is it's an extremely, and you recall, that thing is so smooth. It's just glass smooth and very quiet. So they did a good job with whatever composites they used in the gears and stuff to where it's a very, very smooth startup. We've seen some of these be a little bit, you can feel the motor going and the magnets in them, and you don't have that with this one at all. It's very, very smooth and very smooth power delivery. So but it's tiny little ultra micro. It's going to sag when you throw the pitch to it. You're going to feel it sag a little bit. But a lot of that, can negatively affect the tail's authority, which goes bend to flight as advertised. So that helped the power, balance, the control, and and stability all affects that power feeling, how it actually responds. So it did all right for an ultra micro. It was fine. It wasn't a problem.
Good. So. All right, ground handling. We have 2 different scores here. With stabilization on, we gave it a 5 out of 5.
Yep.
Without stabilization on, we gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, one thing you'll notice is this thing tends to dance, especially if you have it on high rates and you've got it up and you've got it in stunt mode or idle up. It wants to walk on you with high rates on, which if you're doing those types of maneuvers and you have skills, let's say you're an actual accomplished CP pilot and you want to have something small to play around with, you're going to be a little bit shocked, like, wow, this thing is sensitive. It's very sensitive to inputs with high rates on, in, idle up, stabilization off. Any pilot that grabs it so far, myself and a couple others have had fly it, they get a hold of it and you see them doing this. Like, hey, what, everybody starts picking on them. What's wrong, man? You got got a problem with your thumb? So they're like, wow, this thing's a little bit sensitive. Throw it in low rates, it's fine. Throw it in stabilization, it completely disappears. But you're not going to do 3D maneuvers with stabilization on, because stabilization will not let you go inverted. It wants to be upright. So it scores almost, it has dual scoring in a couple categories, and that's one of them, is the ground handling. You get in there and it wants to walk. Now, turn it on low rates or throw stabilization on, and it just behaves so well. So.
All right, durability, 5 out of 5.
I've chicken danced this thing on
you?
a gymnasium floor, and no problems. I mean, you can chicken dance a helicopter for a good couple seconds. No, no. I didn't go I didn't chicken dance along with it. It just was, the chicken dance when your rotor's smacking on the ground and it's spinning around a circle a little bit.
Just, when somebody says chicken dance.
And it didn't break anything. If all that linkage, and they actually in the kit, they throw all extra linkage in there too. So your little grip linkage and everything is all there. So if you do break it, But I mean, within reason, we beat the thing up pretty
sure.
bad, and man,
Yeah.
it didn't. The skids will pop off because they're just pushing. You know, they're just like a little friction thing. So your skids will pop off if you really beat it up, but then you just pop them back on. So it held up to the abuse quite well.
Good to hear. All right, let's move into pilot experience. Flight is advertised 4 out of 5. Flight is advertised as far as what is expected, according to what the box tells you.
Yeah, and you know, I'm sure your perception is, okay, they have stabilization. They talk about how you can kind of be, it's a trainer, a CP trainer. I just give you the straight line on what it is like to fly. If you're new, you don't know what to expect, so some of this may mean nothing to you. If you're accomplished, it's probably going to be too rudimentary. But the middle of the road explanation of what the experience is like is, if you fire this thing up in normal or in stunt with stabilization on, it's extremely well behaved.
Okay.
With idle up, with stabilization on, you're not going to be able to do inverted maneuvers, and you're going to be limited to off-axis control. In fact, with stabilization on, it has accelerometer, so it's only going to allow you to go so far in inclination and off any axis.
Yeah.
And that's like the max, like a quad.
Sure.
It behaves with stabilization on. It very much behaves like a quad.
Yeah.
So it limits it, and you're only going to be able to get so much pitch angle off of that helicopter, and it's going to stop you and go. So with stabilization on, it kind of becomes a duality. Stabilization on, low rates in normal mode, it handles like an extremely falsely well-behaved single rotor fixed pitch helicopter because it acts actually like a quad. Fixes your max angle. As you start progressing through that, then you say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and throw high rates on. Well, that's going to give you more aggressive single rotor fixed quad type behavior, more aggressive because you've got more deflection. So then you say, okay, I'm going to go back to low rates, and then I'm going to turn stabilization off. Now you're feeling that, that kind of walkiness of it. But that's actually a good experience because you're always going to have that to some degree, especially flying outside. The wind affects you, everything else. So as you kind of go through and mix all your combinations up, you can get almost 4 different experiences out of this.
Yeah.
2 of which are probably completely impractical. Why would you have it in stunt mode with stabilization on and try to fly it that way?
Sure.
You really, at that point, you just use that kind of as a bailout.
Yeah.
So you may use it with stabilization on, and it helps you progress through certain phases, but what you'll find is you switch your combinations of switches up, it gives you about 4 different helicopter experiences, none of which are 100% identical to what you're going to experience with like a 450 or a 350 size CP helicopter. It's going to be very different. And then as you go even bigger into a 600 or 700 or larger, then you've got mass and inertia stabilization on top of, if it's a fly barless, your gyro stabilization. So it's so hard to just say, all right, this is the exact experience as you go through different levels of helicopter flight. This is going to give you a pretty good, well-rounded experience of a lot of different variations of helicopter, single rotor helicopter flight. So from that aspect, it's interesting. It's a good educator. It's not going to be a surprise then when all of a sudden you feel the flightiness of a single rotor fixed pitch or a CP helicopter of about a 450 size. You're already going to be trained to start reacting to some of that twitchiness in certain modes. And others, it's going to give you the comfort and confidence to be able to actually fly what is more of a traditional helicopter look versus a coaxial 2 rotors. A more traditional helicopter in very stable conditions, in through all of your essential orientation practice and stuff. So it's an interesting way to look at it. An interesting way to try to describe it. It's a big challenge, but
all right. Well,
hopefully that helped.
You sold me. Flight time, 4.5 out of 5.
Not bad at all. I mean, for helicopters are always short.
Yeah.
They're 5-minute flights. It's a typical barometer set. Competition stuff 4 minutes. So you're never looking for long flight times on any kind of single rotor. But you get a comfortable 5, probably 6 minutes. With stabilization on, of course, that's using a little tiny bit of current, not much, but it's not a problem. If you have 2 batteries, you'll get a lot of enjoyable flight time out of 2 batteries. Get 3 or 4, and you can almost keep yourself in the air, almost nonstop. Flip it on a charger, fly the next one, flip the next one on the charger. So,
field size, we have it marked down as gymnasium. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
You can hover this thing in your house if you want to.
I couldn't, but
what kind of fun are you going to get out of it?
You want me to hover it in your house?
I'd rather you have it in your house. Well, it's so small,
then
probably
let's
much
not
damage. Go ahead,
let's not tell lies.
Let's get yours and hover it in my house, and I'll use my hat to
catch
it.
You're never going to let that go.
Remember that? That was way, way back.
Yeah.
Whap.
On to the next one, portability, 5 out of 5.
Has
Here's your portability right
now,
here.
this box does not have a handle though, so that should be
That's
moved
okay.
down
This
to,
one's like no bigger than a,
yeah,
you know, a thesaurus.
Yeah, and that's
so
all
much
foam.
lighter.
It's totally
Yeah,
foam
it is.
packed, so it's
completely encased in foam.
Yep. Next.
So much so that when you pull it upside down out of the box and open
everything
it
stays in
protects.
place upside down.
Yes.
Not that you'd know about that.
Nope. Okay, skill level. With stabilization on, we have it marked as beginner, intermediate.
Beginner, intermediate. Yep.
And with stabilization off, intermediate to advanced for obvious reasons. You're getting
and ironically, it's like any other tiny little CP helicopter. If you fly bigger ones, it's more of a challenge to fly the tiny ones because everything happens so quick and so twitchy. So yeah. But overall, yeah, it's a beginner, intermediate, intermediate to advanced, depending on which mode combination.
I'll buy that.
And in your case, it's advanced, pro. You need pro at the end. Pro level. Now, you'd be able to fly this, Rob. You would. You might even like it. You'd be proud of yourself.
I don't want to fly your stupid helicopter.
I don't fly your stupid helicopter. I don't fly your stupid.
I don't want to fly it.
Well, that wraps up our review of the Ares Optim 80CP RTF helicopter. If you'd like to see more information, you can go to our website at tubefly.com and check out the full review there. For mobile users, you can go to rcflightsource.com, download our mobile app, and take our content with you on the go. I'm Kurt with Two Brothers Hobby.
And I'm Rob. Thanks for watching.